how did I get into turnkey rental properties? Sometimes I wonder that myself. So here's the story. I grew up kind of in an aviation family. I ended up getting my pilot's license in college, and instead of becoming a professional pilot like I was assuming I would do, I decided to switch over to the engineering side. So I started studying aerospace engineering, got my master's degree in that, and here I am now, like primed and set to have my dream job, right? And then I get hired for it, and I walk into my cubicle for the first time, and before I ever sat down, I was like, this isn't for me. I knew it wasn't going to be. I wasn't a corporate type. I wasn't a business casual clothes type. I wasn't anyone tell me what to do type. And I was like, uh-oh, well, I just went through a lot of schooling for this. So that prompted a 5-year journey of trying to figure out how was I ever going to get out of corporate. So in that journey, I was reading a ton of books. Like I didn't know what was going to get me out. I had a lot of skills, but none really applicable. I didn't know, what I was going to do on my own. So with all my studying, I had decided basically I was either going to have to start a business or do something in real estate investing. Those two things seemed to be the tickets out. So I had actually decided to go the business route. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but while I was starting to pursue that, and at this point I had subscribed to every mailing list possible to entertain me because I was trying to avoid my own job. And this real estate investing opportunity webinar dropped in my inbox. It wasn't turnkeys, it was something completely unrelated. And I watched it and I thought, well, that actually sounds really cool. And I thought to myself, well, while I still have a corporate job, meaning a W-2 paycheck every Friday and health insurance, maybe while I'm trying to figure my way out, I will start investing my money, do something smart with it while I still have it and I qualify for loans. So I pursued this particular investment, and through that, I met a lot of people in the industry. And I'll never forget, kind of some of the first times I ever started hanging out with real estate investors. I loved everybody because it was like this cool mix of, a good bit of intelligence mixed with like a little bit of adventure because, you can't be a total nervous Nancy and get in real estate investing. So I really kind of felt like I started finding my people. So I was so excited to meet everybody, and I started making a lot of connections. And some of those connections were behind this investment strategy, but they also were involved in turnkey rental properties. And I was like, what in the world is a turnkey rental property? And pause on that, go back just a little bit. I had started looking into real estate outside of the opportunity that I was pursuing. But like, for instance, I started looking at rental properties near me in Southern California. I was looking in Orange County. I live in LA. And when I was looking at these properties, first of all, the entry prices were ridiculous. And I didn't know how to run numbers at the time. Excuse me. But I couldn't put my finger on where the profit really was. And I didn't know really anything about cash flow at the time or cap rates or cash on cash returns or whatever, but something didn't seem to work very well. So fast forward, I had that experience kind of in my back pocket. So I start learning about turnkey rental properties just out of curiosity. And what really stood out to me about them was part of what held me out of real estate up until that point was I wasn't really looking for a second job. And that's what it kind of seemed like it was going to be, like flipping houses, wholesaling, whatever. First of all, none of those really seemed like things I was all that interested in doing. Plus, I'm not handy. I'm super gullible with contractors. Like I could do it. I'm a smart enough person, but like it just wasn't all that appealing. So when I started hearing about turnkey rental properties and how much more hands off they were, and you don't have to do any of that complicated stuff, I was like, tell me more. And right away, I didn't really put a lot of thought into it because I was busy with this other opportunity. And one day, one of the guys behind that worked with turnkeys, we were sitting down and he said, hey, I want to give you a heads up about something. We're about to start working with turnkeys in Atlanta, because he knew I was from Atlanta. And I was like, ooh, Atlanta, I want to buy in Atlanta. And that's what started me into buying turnkey rental properties, because I went to Atlanta. I toured a bunch of properties and really got a feel for the entire strategy, everything. And I was like, I want in. And this was in 2011. And at that time, the price to rent ratios were like mind blowing. My very first turnkey was $55,000 for a great house, 2-story, fully rehabbed, everything. and it was making $975 in rent. And if you're familiar with price to rent ratios or cash flow, that's a lot of cash flow for a $55,000 property. And I was like, I have to buy this property and a million more of them. And that, I was so stoked about the whole thing. I brought in an investor partner. I was trying to gobble up as many properties as I could because I knew this was a temporary thing when it was in a crash. So I knew the prices were going to be jumping back up. And still, all the while, I was seeing this as just something smart to do with my money while I still had a corporate job. So I didn't see it as my way out of corporate. But through all of that, I started telling so many people about turnkeys. I ended up writing about them. Bigger Pockets ended up bringing me on as a writer. It started this whole turnkey. It basically put me knee deep in turnkeys for the next, what year are we in? Like 9 years. And that's where I've been ever since. So that's how I got involved with them. It was almost really by accident and unplanned. And I also didn't expect to start a career with turnkeys either. But in the 9 years, I bought all of my own turnkeys and I started helping other people buy turnkeys. And it's funny because 9 years later, I'm still learning a lot of things that seemed like they should have been obvious to me before. Like, I still make mistakes. Part of it, a lot of it's dealing with property managers, what things need to happen to make sure these properties really perform. What things do I like? What do I not? So I'm fortunate to be in a position where, in helping other people buy, I've learned not only from my own experiences, which is a lot at this point, but also from other people's. And I really try and get that information and put it out to you guys because I think it's helpful. It can be a little scary getting into real estate investing, especially a strategy you aren't familiar with. You don't know what you don't know. We didn't learn this in school. So that is how I got into turnkeys. And, every time I kind of want to get out of turnkeys, I just kind of get sucked right back in. So, that's how I got into turnkeys. And as far as my experience over those 9 years, turnkeys, I think, are no different than any other real estate investing strategy in that real estate investing is really on the job training. You learn as you go. You're not going to get it right exactly the first time. Hopefully, if you're buying turnkeys, I can give you enough information to skip over some of the mistakes that I made, some of the mistakes other people have made, share those learnings. But in general, I still think turnkeys are great. They can be a little bit frustrating. There's some ins and outs with them, some kind of unique characteristics about them. But ultimately, I think they're a great opportunity. Again, they're not stress-free all the time. They can be, but it does require you to still participate in the process. You can't be completely hands-off and just expect everyone to do everything for you all the time. You've got to be willing to check in on your properties. But yeah, my experience, there's been plenty of frustrations. There's been plenty of upsides. There's been plenty of profit. And ultimately, if I were to buy a new property tomorrow, I would buy a turnkey. So hopefully, knowing my experience with them, and listening to other videos, check out whatever you want. Hopefully I can be of help. You can always reach out. But really, I'm just kind of here to share my experiences and the experiences of others in hopes to help you with your own.